Good morning, Kuhner Country. Okay, jam-packed show for you today. Trust me when I tell you this. A lot of topics today, a lot of breaking news, but this one is absolutely horrific. So here is now the absolute latest from both media and law enforcement sources. An individual, 27 years old, named Shane Tamura, who was now residing in Las Vegas, apparently drove across the entire country. I mean, he did it within 2 days. From Las Vegas, he went into Nebraska, Colorado, Iowa, hardly ever stopping, going through New Jersey, and from New Jersey, he went to Midtown, New York, and he targeted a massive, swanky skyscraper, 44 stories, which housed the headquarters of the NFL. And I'm going to come back to this because now it seems there's a very strong link now to the National Football League and professional football. But headquarters, the NFL, Blackstone, and other very, very important companies and clients. He apparently arrived with an M4 rifle and a revolver in his car. He double parked his BMW right in front of the building and caught on surveillance camera with witnesses watching. He calmly put his sunglasses on and began to confidently walk towards the skyscraper with his long gun, his M4, right there in the open, hanging down his side. He then walked in to the lobby and immediately began to open fire. It was a bloodbath. There's no other way to put it. This was an evil, bloodthirsty killer who went on a vicious shooting rampage. He shot a police officer, killed him dead. Officer Didarul Islam, an immigrant from Bangladesh who was there on a paid detail. He shot him. The poor man never had a chance. This poor police officer was shot dead. He was gunned down. He leaves behind a wife, 2 children, and a third on the way. She was pregnant with their 3rd child. As he lay on the floor bleeding to death, there was another woman yelling, screaming, cowering behind a pillar. This animal walked up to her, point blank range, boom, 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 shot her dead. He then continued, apparently now according to multiple witnesses, and this is now what the police are saying. Tamura then began to spray the entire lobby with bullets. They said it was a hellfire of bullets. All it was boom, 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 boom. It was relentless. He then walked up to a security guard who was apparently crouching down behind a desk, point blank, shot him dead. He then saw a male, which apparently now is a staff member who worked at the headquarters at the National Football League, was there, confronted him. The shooter shot him. However, it appears he may survive. He is in critical condition, but stable condition. He then went to the elevator bank. At the elevator bank, a woman came flying out of the elevator. For reasons that we do not know, Shane Tamura did nothing. He didn't shoot her. He didn't try to hurt her. He didn't try to kill her. Apparently, he just let her go. Now, there's speculation that maybe he really didn't see her in the sense that he was so focused on killing people with his adrenaline rushing, tunnel vision, so focused on the task at hand that sometimes you lose your peripheral vision. And maybe because she didn't yell, she just froze in a sense with fear and just quietly just ran out, that maybe he didn't, or she didn't make a sound that he thought was threatening to him. Whatever the reason, He let a woman go. Bizarre. He then went into the elevator. He then went up to the 33rd floor, which is the management offices, the management office that runs that huge skyscraper, Rudin Management. Rudin, you can look it up. He then walked down the hallway and again started to shoot left, right, and center. Just spraying bullets everywhere. He eventually saw an individual, a man trying to escape, shot him in cold blood. That man is dead. He then continued to walk down the hallway and then stopped and then, for no apparent reason, turned the gun on himself in the chest and died of a self-inflicted gun wound. Boom, he basically blew his chest out. In all, there are 6 victims. 5, including the shooter, are dead. The 6th one is the NFL staffer who is now fighting for his life. It is an absolute bloodbath. This was a massacre. Make no mistake about it. A police officer is now dead. 3 innocent victims are dead. The shooter is dead. And by the grace of God, that NFL staffer looks like he was saved. We'll see if he recovers and makes a full and complete recovery. The doctors are confident that he may survive. Now, here is what we know, because the question now is why? Why would someone drive almost overnight? We don't know if he stayed at a hotel, but basically it was a 2-day trip. They monitored, police found, they looked at his cell phone, GPS, and they found that essentially it was a 2-day trip. He barely stopped. He went straight from Las Vegas all the way to New York. Now, question number 1. If you want to shoot up an office building, there are many office buildings you can shoot up in Las Vegas. He didn't. He specifically targeted New York, and he specifically targeted this skyscraper in particular. Why? And he seemed to be like a man on a mission. He just drove state after state after state, going all the way into New York City. Apparently, he was even caught in traffic for a couple of hours from New Jersey into downtown New York, and he just stayed in traffic, made his way up to Park Avenue, where this building is located. He could have hit Times Square, for example, which is maybe half a mile away. It is teeming with people. Yesterday, it was summer, 92 degrees, 93 degrees. Times Square was packed with people. I mean, he could have killed 30, 40, 50 people had he wanted to. But he wanted Park Avenue, which was more out of the way, and that building, that skyscraper in particular. It appears they have now found a suicide note. And it appears to explain a lot for the motivations of what happened. Apparently, Shane Tamura was a high school football player with tremendous promise. He was a running back. A lot of contact. A lot of helmet-to-helmet contact. According to his coaches, he was then living in California. His coaches at Golden Valley High School in California said that for Shane Tamura, the sky was the limit. That they believed he was going to be in the NFL one day. That he had so much tremendous talent, speed, skill, toughness, the whole package. But there was a dark side. He apparently got repeated concussions, suffered from what's called CTE, basically traumatic brain injury, from repeated blows to the head. He began to descend into serious mental health issues. He suffered from constant headaches, cognitive impairment, memory loss. The police in Las Vegas said they had numerous run-ins with him due to his mental health problems. He left behind a suicide note saying that the repeated blows to the head, the repeated concussions that he suffered as a high school football player made his life unbearable, that he suffered with such brain trauma that he didn't want to live anymore, and that he ultimately blamed the NFL. Now, what the question is this. The NFL's headquarters are on the 5th floor to the 8th floor. Yet he didn't stop at the NFL's headquarters, 5th floor, 6th floor, 7th floor, 8th floor. For some reason, he went all the way to the 33rd floor, which is, again, Rudin Property Management. They're the ones who just managed the whole building. That's where he went. Now, was he so low IQ by this point? Was he so brain damaged by this point that he couldn't think rationally or sensibly? And, you know, if you're going to blame the NFL, you would figure, well, he's going to target the NFL headquarters. He's going to hit one of those floors.
The shooter is believed to be Shane Tamura, a 27-year-old male with a Las Vegas address. The vehicle he exited is registered in Nevada to Mr. Tamura. Inside of that vehicle, officers found a rifle case with rounds, a loaded revolver, ammunition, and magazines, a backpack, and medication prescribed to Mr. Tamura. The vehicle was searched by our bomb squad and found to be clear of any explosives.
6:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, absolutely horrific massacre yesterday in downtown New York. The voice you heard was New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch describing now the bloodbath that took place at that skyscraper on Park Avenue by this absolute savage, and there's no other way to describe it. Let me just make a couple of points, and then I want to open it up to you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, 617-266-6868. Frankly, I'd like to get the calls as soon as possible. So the moment the lines are loaded, I'm going straight to the phone calls. Number one, the fact that he suffered from mental health issues doesn't excuse what this savage did. Many Americans suffer from mental health issues. They don't go around and shoot up buildings and slaughter innocent people in the lobby of a skyscraper. They don't shoot a police officer dead. They don't shoot a woman cowering behind a pillar. They don't shoot an innocent security guard crouching underneath their desk literally at point blank range. So that's number one. Number two, it appears that the motive, if you go to the suicide note, the fact that he drove all the way to that specific skyscraper, which headquarters the NFL, floors 5, 6, 7, and 8, and one of the NFL staffers or people who worked at the headquarters was shot. So far, he's the only survivor, and hopefully he will make it. So, okay, you suffered from traumatic brain injury because apparently he did take a lot of blows to the head when he was a star running back in high school with tremendous potential. All of his teammates we all said this guy's going to make it to the NFL. His coach, in fact, was on record in one of these local newspapers saying that for Shane, quote, the sky is the limit. He's going to make it to the NFL. If anybody's going to make it, it's him. So maybe, he got his hopes up thinking, hey, I'm a star quarterback. My team has done extremely well. I've got a lot of colleges now after me. My future is extremely bright. And then yet he took blow after blow after blow, concussion after concussion after concussion. And he suffered obviously severe trauma and brain damage. And apparently he didn't end up becoming a star college running back. His career just completely petered out. He said he couldn't function to many people that he spoke to, that he felt constantly cognitively impaired, that he forgot. He had just had massive memory lapse. He would get into the car and not know why he's in the car or where he's going or where he has to go. He apparently worked as a security guard at a casino in Las Vegas, which is a far cry from being a star running back in the NFL and a multi-million-dollar contract. that doesn't justify. No one asked you to play football in high school. No one asked you to keep taking blow after blow to the head. And nothing justifies you going to an office building and slaughtering innocent people. What do they, what did that poor police officer, Officer Islam, what did he have to do with you getting whacked in the head one too many times? What did the poor woman hiding behind the pillar, and they're not releasing the names of the victims, and I understand why, for the privacy of the family. But that poor woman who was just finishing her day at work, she didn't deserve to be massacred and slaughtered in at point blank range in cold blood. This guy was a bloodthirsty killer. So you have liberals already trying to blame the NFL for what happened, trying to blame football for what happened, trying to say it's time to ban football or ban contact sports, or that football has now become too dangerous with all these concussions. Look, you know the risks. Everybody knows the risks now in professional football. The size of the players have gotten bigger. The speed they've gotten much faster. The collisions have gotten much harder. It's a risk. My nephew played high school football. He played offensive line. He's a big guy. He can pick me up. Seriously. I mean, he can the guy, 350 pounds when he's weight training. I mean, the kid, Andrew's a tank. And I don't say that as a term of derision. I mean, he's a big, strong boy. He plays offensive line. And apparently he got a couple of concussions playing high school. He knew the risks. He's a big boy. His parents, my sister and my brother-in-law, they know the risks. So there's a question now of personal responsibility. So don't blame professional football. Don't blame the NFL. Ultimately, he chose to play. Ultimately, he chose to play after concussion, after concussion, after concussion. Well, I'm sorry. You chose to play, and this is what happens. Now, if you're miserable with your life, and I don't believe in suicide at all, I think it's a mortal sin, but let that go. If you're not happy with your life, and you can't live with the brain trauma and the brain damage, well, okay, fine. You want to take your life. No one's going to stop you. But why kill other people around you? To what? Draw attention to your cause? To, draw attention to CTE and concussions and brain trauma caused by football? So what? You're going to kill people and get more attention? I don't think so. Now, let me just say one last thing, because this needs to be said. Aaron Burnett on CNN. Just when you thought those scumbags in the liberal media couldn't get any lower or any worse, she went on the air and kept going on initially how the shooting suspect was quote-unquote white. The CNN, these scumbags, wanted to make this a racial issue and make it seem like this was a white shooter, white supremacy.
Okay, as I was saying just before we had to go to break, look, I'm telling you, CNN is scum. I'm choosing my words very carefully. Just when you thought you couldn't hate them enough, just when you thought they couldn't go any lower. So you had Aaron Burnett yesterday on CNN making an absolute fool of herself, playing the race card. And so they went on the air regarding the shooter and Shane Tamura, who is black. I mean, he's also part Japanese. You can see it, on his the way some of his facial features, and of course the last name Tamura is a Japanese last name. I don't care. To me, evil is evil is evil. I don't care the race of the perpetrator of a crime. And in fact, if you want to get technical about it, most mass shootings are perpetrated by white men, young white men. That's normally the profile. But the fact of the matter is, in this case, he happened to be he was black or whatever, half black, half Japanese, or whatever. But he's black. His skin color, he's clearly black. I mean, you can see the picture. He's black. Okay, there's no question. No, not according to CNN.
according to CNN. No, this was a white shooter, or as she put it, probably white. And they tried to squeeze it into their narrative. White supremacy, Donald Trump, that's what this was all about, KKK. And these people are sick. I'm telling you, they're sick. No journalistic integrity whatsoever. No credibility whatsoever. So if you don't know the facts, shut up. Instead, what they do is they just keep stirring that racial pot. That's all. That's all they want to keep doing. Stoking racial division and hatred. Pushing their anti-white, anti-MAGA, anti-Trump narrative at all costs. Seriously. And they wonder why they're in the rock bottom in terms of ratings. And they wonder why they're an international laughingstock. And why they're called the fake news media. It's fake, fake, fake. That's all these people know is fake news. So anyway, look, let me say one last thing, and then I want to go to the phones. I never politicize a shooting. I think it's the sickest thing. Liberals do that all the time. Guns. What kind of a gun was it? Was it a Glock? Was it a 38 special? What kind of a gun? In this case, it was an M4. It was a long rifle that he used. Apparently, he did have a revolver in his car, apparently with ammunition and magazines. From according to what media and law enforcement are reporting, Tamura did have a conceal and carry license. Now, we don't know if it's for the M4. We do know he had a conceal and carry license for the revolver at a bare minimum, which he got in Las Vegas, which is where he was working and living at the time of the massacre yesterday. Now, New York City has some of the strictest gun control laws, not only in the United States, on the planet. It's essentially illegal, with a few exceptions. It is illegal to own any kind of a gun or a rifle. And did gun control prevent this? No. I'm just stating the obvious. And the other thing that I find a bit shocking about, besides the actual act itself, which is purely, you want to talk about barbarism and evil, but he double parks his car, okay, his BMW, he double parks it in front of the office building, the skyscraper. And then he calmly gets out of his vehicle, and you can see it on the surveillance camera and the surveillance video. He's got this huge M14 rifle right down his right side. And he's, with sunglasses, cavalierly, coolly, nonchalantly, confidently. He's just strolling across this, he's up the sidewalk, across the little courthouse. There he is, walking towards the skyscraper. And nobody says anything. The gun is just out there in the open. The rifle. Nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. Nobody calls 911. It's as if everybody's got their heads buried in the sand. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I just find it remarkable. Nobody, until the actual shots were fired, nobody was yelling, screaming, going, gun, 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 something, call the police, something. No. He's just walking and, I'm sorry. I go to New York once in a while, haven't been there in a while, but do people just walk around with long rifles, just wearing sunglasses and just, cavalierly walking down the sidewalk of a street? Really, is it like Mad Max in the movie? I mean, seriously, have things gotten that bad in New York? And let me just say one absolute final point and then go to the phone lines.
New York is in big trouble. I'm telling you right now. I understand he drove from Las Vegas. He drove almost 2 days and 2 nights straight. I get it. But still, the police response was horrible. And I'm not talking about that poor officer that was killed. They have defunded the police in New York for years now. There's no deterrence, as everybody in New York is now saying. You used to see police cars everywhere. You used to see paid police details at these skyscrapers, these big buildings everywhere. You would see on a street like Park Avenue at least 8 cars, police cars everywhere. Now you're lucky if you see one. So it's not just that there's no deterrent anymore because you don't see cops anywhere, but the response time, very slow. They don't have enough resources. The investigation ability, the investigative ability, very slow. So this is what happens when you start to defund the police. Animals, criminals, savages begin to take over the streets. And this guy parked his car and he just waltzed across and walked in, and there was one police officer that stood in his way. Just one. And he ambushed him. He caught him completely by surprise. He was the first one he shot. And he killed him. And then after that, it was a shooting gallery. Until he went up to the 33rd floor, shot and killed one more innocent person until he turned the gun on himself. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. What do you make of this massacre in New York? Number one. Number two, is football to blame? This is what liberals are already saying. Too much contact, too many concussions, too much brain damage, that football, the NFL, is to blame for this. Do you agree? And already they're calling for even more gun control. Is confiscating even more guns the answer? Steve in New Hampshire, you're going to kick us off, Steve. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Steve.
First, I'd like to say I give my prayers to the families of those who were victims of this event. It's never acceptable in any circumstance, and regardless of the circumstances that resulted in this, those families are not going to be the same. What I told the call screener this morning is you kind of touched upon it, that with that mind frame, it wouldn't surprise me not to focus on the NFL to victimize them, but to attack pure innocence and lay it at their feet, to make them, to have that feel like, oh my God, like a psychological guilt, like not because I don't think he actually focused and knew that NFL rep was actually an NFL rep. It sounds like he just shot who was ever in the building.
That's right. Yeah, you're right, Steve. Yes.
So going on that assumption that if he thinks he's shooting all innocents and the NFL is in that building, and in his note you said he's blaming the NFL for that, what better way to lay that guilt on them than to affect people who have nothing to do with it and put it on almost like a form of terrorism, to get a certain result.
Interesting. Steve, let me ask you a question, and then I'm up against it. Please hang on. I want to talk to you on the other side. I want to take all of your calls. 617-266-6868. Okay, let's go right back to Steve in New Hampshire. Steve, I think you're making an absolutely fascinating and brilliant point that it was a form of terrorism. He wanted to guilt trip the NFL, shame the NFL, almost traumatize the NFL by killing all of these innocent people and saying, now this blood is on your hands. I'm just curious, Steve, because I think you're making a very interesting point. Why not target the actual headquarters of the NFL at that skyscraper between floors 5 and 8? Instead, he goes all the way up to the 33rd floor, which is the floor that is occupied by the manager of the building, Rudin Properties. He could have gone to the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th floor. And then after killing all of these innocent people, including the police officer in the lobby, then just come in and start killing some NFL staff members. Or was that also part of his plan, do you believe, to just keep killing innocent people below the headquarters and above the headquarters? What say you, Steve?
I think it's like that, a certain level of separation. I mean, if you don't go in there intently to cause physical damage to the NFL at all, then, like, if you're going in there and you kill NFL representatives because of and blaming them for it, well, then they're going to say, well, see, they deserved it. They're shooting and killing NFL people, and that's where the blame is. And then the blame kind of lays within the NFL internally. But when you get people that have nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the NFL, then it raises that level of, no connection at all. It adds, I think, an extra, more weight. Like, I don't know how I can actually describe that.
No. In other words, look, the NFL, got innocent people killed. This guy came there because of, allegedly, this is, the thinking of, this is the line of thinking. Look, your policies, this physical contact, helmet to helmet, the concussions, the brain trauma, the brain injuries that you and the NFL are sweeping under the rug, and that you're damaging all of these young football players. Well, because of what you guys have done and foisted upon the people who play football, now innocent people are dead because he went there and shot innocent people. And so you're right. It's like you're traumatizing and terrorizing the NFL. Basically now Roger Goodell, this is the line of thinking. Roger Goodell now has blood on his hands. The commissioner of the NFL. You see? You, buddy, you. Because of what you guys in the NFL have done, now look at the bodies. That's all on you. Correct, Steve?
And what was the name? Because this happened from a former Patriots player several years ago.
Junior Seau. Yeah, Junior Seau. He was, I think, a linebacker, and he took his own life. Same thing. He was complaining of the very same symptoms that this guy was, this shooter. And they looked at his brain after he died, and, I mean, it was scar tissue everywhere. I mean, that brain, it looked like somebody was, with a knife or whatever, just a scalpel, just picking at the brain. That there was so many tears and damages, damaged tissue and tears in his brain. And, he said he couldn't remember anything. He couldn't function. He goes, I go to my truck. I'm going to go grocery shopping. I'm like, why am I in my truck? I forgot why I'm in my truck. And he just sits there and he has no clue what do I do now? I don't even know what I'm doing here. That he suffered debilitating headaches. He was dizzy spells. He couldn't concentrate. That his life was it was torture. Every minute, every second of the day was just torture. And no matter how many, what medication you're on, the drugs they give you, that it's just unbearable. And, it doesn't matter. You've made so much money. You can't enjoy your money because you can't enjoy even a second of your own life. And so he said life was so unbearable that's why he ended up killing himself. Now, this guy is apparently, according to his suicide note, is something similar to that. But I go back to my original monologue. I don't believe in suicide. Please don't get me wrong. But, okay, you take your own life. But why do you have to kill other innocent people? That's the part that I find, that's what's so evil about what happened yesterday. Steve, final word to you.
Only him, that, like, if he killed himself, where would the attention be? Okay, so a former high school possible NFL person kills himself because for whatever he didn't make it, blah, blah, blah. But when it wouldn't be, no attention would be drawn to it except for its immediate thing. But to make the bigger issue what it is, and we live in a society where no one wants to take personal responsibility for anything. But to make it as, as horrific and frightening as possible, why not go for a whole bunch of people who have absolutely nothing to do with the issue, but are located where he believes the source of the issue is, and lays it at the feet for them.
Excellent. Really good call. Steve, thank you very much. I think you laid it out beautifully. Agree, disagree, I'd love to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Let me just throw very quick log on the fire. Should we ban tackle football? Really, let me ask all, because this is now inevitably going to be the discussion. Should we ban professional football? Should we ban tackle football? The argument, let me just quickly, it's an obvious argument. When you have two grown men, very strong, fast, colliding with each other, one wearing a helmet, the other one wearing a helmet, and they go helmet to helmet, you're going to see some brain damage. That it's inevitable. That the sport now has just become too violent. The players are too big, too strong, too fast, that the technology is not keeping up with the pace of the game and the violence of the game and the physical impact of the game. And that what you're seeing now is really a scandal. That the NFL and everyone involved, whether it be high school football, which is big money, college football, which is even much bigger money, and NFL, which is, astronomical money, that they're all trying to sweep under the rug. For every superstar who makes it, there are so many people like this man, this animal, Shane Tamura, who not only don't make it, but their lives are ruined because of repeated concussions, blows to the head, and brain trauma. And that it's time now, go to, touch football, flag football, that you don't need to have this kind of tackle football, this kind of violence that we see in football. Should football be banned? And do you blame the sport for what happened in New York? You know my position. I believe in personal responsibility. You don't want to play? Don't play. I'll just, very quick example. I mentioned my nephew, Andrew. He was a good player. He played offensive line. Very good. It's his senior year now, or he wrapped up his senior year. He's not going to play college football, but still enjoyed his time in high school and now wants to go to the Marines. And it looks like my nephew is going to go to the Marines in September or October. But loved his football years, loved the camaraderie, loved the discipline that it gave him. He likes the physical contact. He's a big, strong guy. The weight training, the weightlifting, physically he transformed his body. Anyway, loved football. If he had the talent, he said he would play college football. That was his choice. He knows the risks. He knew the risks. His parents, my sister and my brother-in-law, they knew the risks. So to me, it's a question of personal responsibility. Ashton is now really starting to get big. He's physically, his shoulders are broader than mine. I think he can bench press now more than I can. I mean, he's weightlifting now 3 or 4 times a week. He's big. He's stocky. He's getting really muscular now. He loves it. He's becoming a gym rat. My point is, he wanted to play football about maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. He said, I want, Mom and Dad, I want to play football, tackle football. Grace, I would have let him play, to be honest. Grace put the kibosh on that. She nixed it. She said, absolutely not. For the reasons of, I don't want you to get concussions. I don't want you to get possible brain trauma or brain injury, as she put it, over my dead body. And, he didn't want it that bad that he was going to argue with his mother day after day. We had a few discussions about it, and she put her foot down, and he moved on, and, he accepted it. But my point is, my sister said yes. My wife said no. In the end, it's up to families. It's up to the parents, and it's up to the players. Don't blame the NFL. Don't blame football. again, they always blame, that's what liberals do. They blame the guns. They blame sports. They blame everybody but the evildoer himself. Agree, disagree. Maggie in Amesbury. Thanks for holding, Maggie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Maggie.
First of all, very sad and tragic. My prayers go out to all the families. But I just wanted to say, Jeff, I haven't heard anyone mention this. Have they ever looked at the medications these people are on? Now, I want to preface that by saying this is all multifaceted, right? There are so many reasons why someone may go out and shoot up an area on people, but with mental illness, brain injury, it's so awful in and of itself. But so many of these people and different shooters, they're on these medications that just add fuel to the fire, if you know what I mean. So it's not one reason why people do this, but I think a study is needed because these medications can really, they can be a trigger almost for somebody who's depressed or angry. And then you add on some of these medications and it can be like ignite the fuel, if you will.
Well, Maggie, it's funny that you should mention that because I could play the clip again, but the New York Police Department commissioner, the New York commissioner, Jessica Tisch, said, we checked his car. We were looking for possible, explosives, bombs, who knows? And she said, we found a lot of ammunition. We found a revolver that was loaded. We found a backpack and we found medication in his car. And the bizarre thing was, and this is how big pharma is always protected. The reporters asked, to their credit, well, what kind of medication? What was the medication? She goes, I can't get into that. Well, why can't you get into it? Well, it's just privacy. Well, he's dead. What privacy? He's dead. And, she's the one, the commissioner. I'm not blaming her. I'm just explaining. The commissioner was the one who said he suffered from serious mental health issues. And that they contacted the Las Vegas Police Department. They said, no, he doesn't have a criminal rap sheet. He didn't commit crimes. But there were numerous incidents with him dealing with supposed mental health. That he had a mental health disorder. That's the term they used. And that he had mental health problems. And so he had frequent run-ins with the police. No arrests, but mental health. So she's telling us he's got a long history of mental health disorders, mental health problems, that he had medication with him in the freaking car, but you won't tell us what it is? So what, the guy's driving across the country is basically popping pills? And, I'm going to play the timeline. She lays it out very well, the commissioner. The way they lay it out, he leaves, the 25th or the 26th? I forget, but it's like he's a man on a mission. He gets in that car and, he could have stopped anywhere. He could have shot up a building in Las Vegas. He could have shot up a building in Nebraska or Colorado or Iowa, or she describes the path that he took. And he's doing multiple states every day. I mean, he's flying across the country. He wanted to hit that skyscraper in particular. And, the police in New York said, thank the Lord he didn't hit Times Square. Because the attack took place at basically 6:30 in the evening. It was a very hot day. It was just after people were getting off work. They said Times Square was packed. A guy like him just gets out of the car in front of Times Square with the firepower that he had. We're not talking 5 dead. We could be talking 50 dead. But no, he went by Times Square. So he wasn't there just to kill people for the sake of killing people, because he could have killed people all along the way. And he could have slaughtered them in Times Square. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. He went on Park Avenue, which by then was much less populated. He went to that specific skyscraper. He double parks. I believe left the door open. In other words, like he's not coming back. He knows he's not coming back. And this is the part that is so chilling, Maggie. How cool, how calm, how confident. The only word I can keep thinking is nonchalant. Like the way I walk to the ice cream store. You know, I park my car, I bring my kids, and I'm just like, I'm having an ice cream. Like, what's the problem? You know, like guilt-free, stress-free, anxiety-free. And he's got this cannon. It's a rifle, but it's basically a cannon hanging down the right side of his leg. And these sunglasses, like he thinks he's cool. He didn't think twice. It's so evil. It is so callous. No sense of right or wrong. No sense of good or evil. I don't know if this man had a conscience or whatever. The brain trauma destroyed his conscience. I don't know. But you can tell he didn't care. And now he was at the building he wanted to be. And he was going to kill as many people as he could. And you know what? Had he struck an hour earlier, remember, he gets stuck in traffic. He hits the New Jersey Turnpike. Was it 4:00 the way the commissioner put it? And he gets, either it was the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel, but he gets stuck in traffic in one of those tunnels. So that's why he's there at 6:30. Many people had already left. Had he gotten there an hour earlier, which is I think when he was wanting his projected time to get there, that lobby would have been full. That lobby, I mean, he would have killed 10, 15, 20 people. And he came in there, and according to the witnesses, he didn't blink. It was as if he was shooting squirrels. And yelling, screaming, blood everywhere, terror everywhere. And once he had killed so many people in the lobby, he went to the elevator bank. This woman, for whatever reason, gets out of the elevator. Maybe he didn't see her. Maybe she crawled out. Who knows? But he lets her go. Gets in, 33rd floor. He gets out. And apparently the moment he got out, boom, 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 boom. He's just spraying bullets. And there was one man there, trapped. Point blank range. Bang. Shot him dead. And then he looked around. And then he started to walk down the hallway. People thought he was going to kill more people. And then for some reason, he just stopped, put the gun to his chest, not to his mouth or to his head, but to his chest. And boom, blew his chest out. And the reason, according to the suicide note, is that he wanted to leave his brain intact so it could be studied. I agree with you. What was he on? What medications were he taking? Was he taking? Did this help contribute or fuel what happened? But you see, they tell us everything. We'll even know the names of the victims. They'll tell us every piece of information, but they won't tell us what he's on. They will not tell us what medication he was taking. Final word to you, Maggie.
Describe that. And, you know, the brain and brain trauma is a horrible thing. But I do think studies need to be done. These are, again, factors to a bigger picture, but we can't ignore this factor in addition to everything else that we look at.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Maggie, thank you very much for that call. Look, I'm getting a lot of text messages and emails from people who listen to the show. Either they live in New York or they're former New Yorkers. And let me tell you what they're all saying. Those that used to live in New York are saying, Jeff, I would never go back to New York. I grew up in New York. I was born and raised in New York. It has changed in the last 10, 15 years. They go, the crime is out of control. Criminals are running wild. Homicides, rapes, violence, gun crimes. They go, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't bring my family back. I wouldn't bring my children back. And people in New York say, Jeff, it's completely different than what it was 20 years ago. We're afraid when we go outside. The criminals own the streets. And you're right. They all tell me about the defunding of the police. There is no police visibility. The police presence now is minimal. They have gutted the police. And it's poor, innocent citizens that are paying. 617-266-6868 is the number. And these are the same people now that are on the verge of electing Mamdani, who wants to abolish the police, and abolish prisons. That's what they're about to vote for. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, if you want to commit suicide, I can't stop you. So hopefully, if there's any silver lining in this could be a wake-up call. You really want no police? Because you just had one police officer, and that police officer was shot and killed, and look how many more were massacred. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Okay, my friends, let me ask you, what do you make of the massacre yesterday in Manhattan? And is football to blame? Traumatic brain injuries. Are they now too rampant, too rife? And are we going to see more of these kinds of mass killings because of what's happening on the football field? Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
There we go. Good morning, Jeff.
Mark, how are you, my friend?
All right. So somebody screwed up here somewhere along the line, Jeff. And the reason why I say that is this. If the Las Vegas police told the New York police that this guy had mental issues and he was on he was on medication for these mental issues, right? But how is he able to obtain a license to carry a weapon in Nevada with mental issues? Are they that loose with the gun laws in Nevada?
Oh, Mark, that is a great point. No, you're right. Many people are asking the same question. You know, if this guy had, serious mental health problems and traumatic brain injury, and how did he get, a concealed carry license? How did they even allow him to get the guns in the first place? Mark, you're completely right. Mark, I'm just curious, what do you make of this overall? Do you think, has football gotten too violent? Is it now too dangerous? Are we seeing now too many people with these, CTE, as they call it, this traumatic brain injury? And a lot of them are starting to commit suicide, but now, before they turn a gun on themselves, they're turning guns on others. What say you?
I played hockey my whole life. And if you want my opinion, that's more violent than football. Okay? That's constant play. You get hit, you have to get back up and get into the play. You get hit in football, the play's over. Okay? This is your choice. You elect to play football. You elect to play hockey. You know the consequences. What could happen to you? So, no, they're not going to ban football, Jeff, because, first of all, it's a $10 billion a year business. The NFL makes $10 billion a year. You think they're going to ban tackle football? We have a better shot of seeing Jesus Christ walking down the street right now. That's a given. Okay? But one of two things happened here, Jeff. Either somebody screwed up in Nevada, or he just lied on his application and they didn't even bother looking at it.
I think you're right. No, you're dead right, Mark. Mark, as always, thank you very much for that call. Lucy in Lexington. Thanks for holding, Lucy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Lucy?
This is my first time calling, so I took notes.
Welcome.
I'm a little nervous to do this.
Don't be nervous. You're among friends. Go ahead. Go ahead, Lucy.
All right. So I definitely agree with Mark about what he just said. I play rugby, and that's no armor, no padding, no nothing. And you don't hear stories about people, getting some concussions with that. You don't hear people going crazy with that. So I agree with Mark, and then I also see the point of tackle football. It's a sport. We have it. There's flag football too. Maybe that could be better. who knows? But the whole point of like what I was seeing from this point, because I'm 27 as well, and I'm a psychology student right now. So I've always wanted to work the brain and like, figure out how things are. So I did a whole study on video games, and with men in particular, whenever like they lose, if they lose over and over and over, or they just get very, very mad, especially with GTA, they're constantly like trying to reenact that thing in real life, or that they can't, like there's a blurred line to them between what reality is and what's in the game, right?
Yes, I mean you're talking about Grand Theft Auto, right? When you say GTA.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, no, Lucy, no, I agree with you. Look, I think, and you tell me what you think. I think a big difference between rugby and football, and you're right, rugby is a contact sport. I do watch it occasionally. I think it's a great sport. It's a very physical sport. You need a lot of skill, a lot of toughness, a lot of courage, a lot of strength to play rugby. I think a big difference is money. There is so much more money involved in football than in rugby. And when you look at this man, this animal who shot up these people, he was a high school football star. And everybody expected him. They didn't just say college football, you're going to get a free scholarship. They said, you're going to go to the NFL. You're going to make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. You're going to be famous. You're going to be rich. You're going to be wealthy. You're going to have mansions and cars and, women all over you. And it didn't pan out because of the brain injuries. In fact, I don't even think he made it through college. And so he was angry, bitter, resentful. And that's when he began to take it out on football and the NFL. But, Lucy, the problem is nobody thinks about their health. He's a human being. Look, what he did was horrible. Don't get me wrong. But I'm thinking of him as a high school athlete. All everybody kept telling him was, keep winning, keep scoring touchdowns. That's all that matters. Well, my head is killing me. Who cares? You're going to be in the NFL. You're going to make tens and tens of millions. So you have players that are playing with 1 concussion, then 2 concussions, then 3 concussions, then 4 concussions. Well, your body can only take so many concussions. You don't have that in rugby. Am I wrong, Lucy?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And the other point that I want to make was, when this guy parked the car, it took him 10 minutes to walk in the building, there were multiple people around. My question for you is, and everyone listening, do you think that people are afraid to do their protecting job because we're so politically divided, where it's I know this is a whole other topic, but there's ICE, and then there's people trying to have a whole party against ICE and defending everything. I think, if people had said something, it could have been easier. And like Mark said before, this guy was able to get a license. There's no way that he should.
617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, an absolute bloodbath now in New York. A deranged killer, apparently suffering from traumatic brain injury, a former high school football player, a security guard in Las Vegas, drove across the entire country to a specific building, a skyscraper on Park Avenue, which the NFL has its headquarters at, and walked into the lobby with an M4 rifle and just started to blast away, killing a police officer. Officer Didarul Islam, an immigrant from Bangladesh, married with 2 sons and a 3rd child on the way. His wife was pregnant. It is absolutely heartbreaking. He was ambushed. He never stood a chance. Others in the lobby as well were shot at point-blank range. A security guard was murdered. A woman, just an office employee leaving work that day, about to go home, was killed brutally. He then shot another. This one actually was an NFL staffer. He didn't know this person was a staffer, but shot the staffer. It looks like that individual, that man, may survive. He's in critical condition. He then went onto the elevator all the way up to the 33rd floor and then began to indiscriminately shoot anyone or anything in sight. He ended up killing another person who worked on the 33rd floor, which was the property management office, not the NFL, and then turned the gun on himself. He left behind a suicide note saying that he suffered from CTE, which is repeated blows to the head, traumatic brain injury caused by repeated, persistent, multiple concussions. He played high school football. Apparently, he was a star high school football player with the promise of joining the NFL. In fact, everybody said he was practically a shoo-in. However, his brain injuries prevented him from ever making it to the NFL. He became bitter, angry, suffered apparently from crippling, debilitating headaches, severe memory loss. He developed mental health issues, blamed football, blamed the NFL for what happened to him, and hence why that building and why he targeted that particular skyscraper. Now, as you know, my position, I don't blame the NFL. You chose to play football. You chose to keep playing football even after you suffered concussion after concussion. So don't blame anybody but yourself. But there is an issue about whether the NFL does do enough to protect its players, and whether in general, college, high school as well, that these helmets that they wear now are sufficient armor or protection against the speed, the strength, the conditioning that you now see among all of these athletes, and that there is a growing problem of repeated blows to the head. The NFL even had to change some of its rules regarding tackling and whether you can even tackle helmet to helmet or hit someone in the head, because the problem of concussions was becoming a serious one. So this is what Beverly wrote to me on Messenger. Forgive me. This is what she messaged me on Messenger. Jeff, good morning. Well, good morning to you, Beverly. I believe the helmets give the players a false sense of security. Whereas in rugby, they technically have no protective equipment, if I'm not mistaken. And so they tend to be a little more cautious. Whereas in football, they believe they're invincible. Even in hockey, and they have smaller helmets. Could that potentially be why there are so many head-to-head collisions and injuries and CTE? Interesting. Look, let me be honest with you. I don't think the helmets are enough. I think they do give them a sense of false security. I think some people do think they're invincible, especially with the helmet on. And I don't care who you are. When you're going head to head with some, linebacker or defensive lineman or whatever, 260, 270, 280, 300 pounds of mostly solid muscle coming at you at lightning speed with the way these players are conditioned nowadays, you're going to rattle your brain. Like, I don't care who you are. And you take enough of those shots to the head, and you're never going to be the same again. Now, I'm not saying ban football, far from it. But, do I think that the NFL could do more to protect their players? No question. Do I believe high school and college football could do more to protect their players? No question. But I think Mark in Medford nailed it. There's just too much money now. And it's not just professional football. He mentioned $10 billion in the NFL. College football is an absolute financial windfall. It is huge, huge money. The stadiums are packed. I'm talking 100, even 120,000 people. The merchandise, the TV contracts, schools. I mean, they rely on that money. That money. I mean, schools, universities have become big business. And it's not just football, to be frank. It's basketball. It's some of the other, big programs that they have. But there's so much money now. So they don't care. if these kids, get their brains smashed or suffer, CTE or constant concussions, hey, just keep winning, baby. As 3 weeks away, as Mike was telling me. 3 weeks away, college football starts. So, and so now they're going to pay the players. So the players now are going to make college players now. Forget just a scholarship. Now it's going to be millions of dollars. Plus they even get revenue from their jerseys, the sale of their merchandise, sale of their jerseys. So there's even more of an incentive. And if your brain gets splattered or if your head gets smashed or if you have one too many concussions, hey, it's all about the incentive now is so much more than it was in the past. And look, I'm not defending what he did. Obviously, it was disgusting. It was evil. But this guy thought he was going to the NFL. Everybody told him, your ticket is punched. All you got to do is keep playing and keep winning. And the fact that you're turning your brain to mush, well, hey, you'll deal with it when you deal with it. And the problem was he couldn't tough it out. His brain began to collapse on him. He couldn't even get through college. And he ended up being a security guard in Las Vegas, and it got to the point that he couldn't function as a human being. And he got so angry and developed serious mental health problems that he took it out on these poor innocent people in Park Avenue in New York. 617-266-6868. Let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Is the NFL doing enough to protect the players? In other words, are they doing enough to try to protect from this constant brain, these constant concussions, brain injuries, brain trauma? A, yes. B, no. Honestly, I'm a no. I'm not blaming the NFL for what happened, but no, I don't think they're protecting their players enough. It's all about the money. They don't care about player safety. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X, and I'm always active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN is in national ER. I want to take all of your calls. Okay, very quickly. Listen now to New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch on the massacre in Manhattan. They received a call at 6:28 p.m. Eastern Time, that was yesterday, of an active shooter inside 345 Park Avenue, which is that huge swanky skyscraper where the NFL is headquartered. Blackstone is there as well. A lot of very, very big companies and businesses are located there. And listen to what she says. Roll cut 20, Mike.
At 6:28 p.m., the 911 call center started receiving multiple 911 calls for an active shooter inside of 345 Park Avenue at 52nd Street in Manhattan. What happened next is under an active investigation, and details are still coming in, but here's what we know so far. Surveillance video shows a male exit a double-parked black BMW on Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Streets, carrying an M4 rifle in his right hand. He walks towards the building's entrance. That individual was seen exiting the BMW alone.
So it appears it was a lone wolf. Initially, there was talk of maybe a second person who was involved, but the police are now saying no, it was one person and only one person. Now, this is the part to me that is really chilling. He's walking towards the building, holding the rifle. Calm, cool, completely without a care in the world. And then he enters the lobby. Roll cut 21, Mike.
The building security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire. He makes his way to the elevator bank, where he shoots a security guard who was taking cover behind the security desk. One additional male is shot in the lobby, per his own statement from the hospital.
I mean, I got to tell you, man, you're evil. You are one cold, sociopathic SOB. You know, okay, please don't misunderstand me. You hate the NFL. It's your fault. It's not the NFL's fault. But, okay, you hate the NFL. He didn't even go to the NFL headquarters and shoot somebody there. I'm not saying he should have. Please don't misunderstand me. But what the hell do these people have to do with what happened to you? They're as innocent as can be. And to do that at point blank range, one after another, after another, after another. And then, hear this. Roll cut 22. Mike.
The shooter then calls the elevator, which opens in the lobby. A female exits that elevator, and he allows her to walk past him unharmed. He goes up to the 33rd floor, which is route and management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. One person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest. In total, we have 5 victims shot, our officer and 4 other innocent civilians, plus the shooter.
So, the police officer is dead. The innocent civilians are dead. The shooter killed himself. The person that he shot in the lobby actually happens to be an NFL staffer, a male. He appears to have survived, God willing. He is in very critical but stable condition, and doctors are hopeful he'll be able to pull through it. Now, just super quick, listen now to her describe what the suspect and what they found in his vehicle. Roll cut 23, Mike.
The shooter is believed to be Shane Tamura, a 27-year-old male with a Las Vegas address. The vehicle he exited is registered in Nevada to Mr. Tamura. Inside of that vehicle, officers found a rifle case with rounds, a loaded revolver, ammunition, and magazines, a backpack, and medication prescribed to Mr. Tamura. The vehicle was searched by our bomb squad and found to be clear of any explosives.
Now, on top of everything else, he drove from Las Vegas over 2 days across the country. He was determined to get to New York City. He was determined to get to that particular place, that skyscraper, that building. And he wanted to be there during rush hour as people are, leaving to go home to maximize the body count. Roll cut 24, Mike.
The initial investigation shows that Mr. Tamura's vehicle traveled cross-country through Colorado on July 26th, then Nebraska and Iowa on July 27th, and then in Columbia, New Jersey, as recently as 4:24 p.m. today. The vehicle entered New York City shortly thereafter.
Now, and that's when he got stuck in traffic. So he basically hits New York City at about 4:30-ish. And there's only 2 ways to get there, either the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel. And that time, it's a parking lot. It's like the 93 here, or the 95. It's a parking lot by that time. So he was hoping to get there by 5:30-ish, which is prime rush hour. He gets there instead at 6:30. And luckily, the lobby was a little bit more cleared out. A lot of people had left. But even then, you see these horrific pictures. They're everywhere of people within that 44-story building because, all they're hearing is gunshots. So you can see them barricading. This is floor after floor after floor. people dressed in, office attire, and couches, desks, chairs, barricading their doors. The couches going all the way up to the ceiling. I mean, there was one picture I saw. I think there was like 5 or 6 couches piled up on top of each other. And people absolutely petrified. Now, they did a quick background check on him. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Roll cut 25. Mike.
According to our law enforcement partners in Las Vegas, Mr. Tamura has a documented mental health history. His motives are still under investigation, and we are working to understand why he targeted this particular location. 345 Park Avenue is a commercial office building whose tenants include the NFL, Rudin Management, KPMG, and Blackstone.
So they later found a suicide note, and it looks more and more like it was NFL related and concussion related. Just one more clip. This is just some of the sound, the natural sound that you were able to hear outside as the shooting took place. This is like what New York now looks like. This is, there's shootings now in New York all the time because crime has exploded. So, by the way, and this is Midtown Manhattan. This is supposed to be the financial center, not just of the United States, literally of the world. New York City, Manhattan is, in theory, not London, New York is the financial capital of the world. And by the way, these are the same people that are going to potentially elect a communist, not a socialist, a communist to be their next mayor. Okay, you want to talk about a serious screw loose, but let that go. Listen now to what it sounded like. Roll cut 27, a mic.
That's the police officer from earlier.
I mean, you hear gunshots in the background, and you just see, an army of police officers, ambulances, fire trucks. I mean, it's like the whole world descended on that office building. Absolutely incredible, just incredible. Sean in Indiana, thanks for holding, Sean, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon, my friend. What's on your mind, Sean?
So, one of the messages you read actually stole a bit of my thunder, but I think I was going to say, that I think a lot of it has to do with the equipment. That the football game has become more violent, and it's being encouraged to become more violent by the actual safety equipment. So, it's actually an observation that I've noticed just watching football over the last couple decades. But, if I took Jeff Kuhner and I said, Jeff, I'm going to take your vehicle and I'm going to take your seatbelts out of your car and I'm going to take your airbags out of your car and you're not allowed to use those anymore, you would adjust your behavior accordingly. And this is why psychologists back in like the 70s were trying to figure out why automobile accident rates and fatality rates were increasing even though they started putting seatbelts in cars. And it's because people started to develop a false sense of security, that the more security features that we put in cars and the more security that we put around us, the more we adjust our behavior and we consider ourselves to be safer. So, in point with some of the comments that you've gotten from some of your callers regarding rugby or regarding hockey, you look at hockey, yeah, it's a violent sport. I mean, they fist fight, but they wear very thin helmets. And because of that, whenever they hit each other, they check and they lead with their shoulder or their hips. They don't lead with their head. If you watch some of, football used to be, right, leatherheads. That's where you get the leatherheads term. They used to wear leather caps. And when you watch old footage of old football games, that ball would get hyped. You didn't hear the sound of a bunch of craniums smashing each other. But now we give everybody, helmets and all the safety equipment. And now when they hike that ball, all you hear is the sound of helmets on the line smashing each other. So my argument would be it is the NFL's fault in the sense that they've just continued to try to give these people more tools to somehow safeguard them during their violence rather than figuring out how to retool the game, from a rules perspective to make it safer so that, like in rugby, people, aren't encouraged to just smash heads.
Sean, I think you've really put your finger on it. And I know a lot of people who love football are not going to like what you just said, but it doesn't matter. I think the truth is the truth. Look, a lot of the appeal of football, it's like MMA, it's like boxing, it's that it's violent. Yes, there's a tremendous amount of skill. There's no question. Okay, it's a highly skilled game. And I can't do what they can do. I could only dream of what they do. But look, I played football when I was much younger. I wasn't very good at it, but I did play. And look, I remember there were and they were very good players. But man, I remember some guys on that team. They had that helmet. It was a weapon. They thought they were invincible. They were like an unguided missile. They would lead with their heads. They would tackle with their heads. They loved head-to-head contact. They got off on the head-to-head contact. Because exactly what you said, they thought with all the shoulder pads and all the other protection they had, but especially that helmet, that they were, they were invincible. And I can't tell you how many head-to-head, hits there were, collisions. And I don't know if they ended up developing traumatic brain injury when they got older. I didn't keep in contact with many of them. But, and some of them were vicious. Honestly, look, I always and maybe that's why I wasn't a good football player. Okay, I'm going to say that right up front. I always just wanted to bring the guy down. I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to injure him. But there were some players on that team, really, and they were great players, don't get me wrong. And part of it was, it's to terrorize the other side, to intimidate, to bully the other side, to psychologically overpower the other side. But they wanted to do damage. And some of these guys, they launched themselves. This was all, these new rules have changed that. This is in the mid-'80s. But they would launch themselves at running backs or quarterbacks or whoever had the ball. And if they went helmet to helmet, great. If they took a player out, great. So, and I would look at them, I go, what's wrong with you, man? You want to do serious injury to somebody? Relax. It's just, I always would say this, it's just a game. Relax. Sure, I want to win, but I don't want to, break somebody's bones or smash somebody's face in or their head in over a game. Relax, man. And now you know why I wasn't very good at it. But no, look, I think there's no question, Sean. The violence of the game is a big part of the appeal of the game. And in many ways, I don't want to overdo it, but I'm not the only one who said this, who's saying this. Modern day football is very much equivalent to the gladiators in the Roman Colosseum. They're not throwing people to the lions, like the Christians to the lions where they're getting eaten alive. But it's very similar to the gladiators who would fight almost to the death. It's very violent among very physically strong, fast, skilled men. They're essentially warriors who have protective gear, and the goal is to destroy the other side. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, and of course on the scoreboard. And so that's why the NFL is never going to really protect the players. They'll make cosmetic changes. They'll make little tweaks here and there because like the old Roman Colosseum and like the gladiators, it's bread and circuses. Look, I'll never forget this final point, and I want to go back to you, Sean, on this. I'll never forget. It was 9/11. Okay. I'll never forget that day. And if everybody, people forget this now, but the country essentially shut down after 2 weeks. For 2 weeks after 9/11. I mean, nobody played baseball, nobody played football, nobody played professional sports. Everybody thought the whole country's in mourning. It's inappropriate to play. But I remember after about 2 weeks, people in my office, people where I worked at in the newsroom, everywhere, were like, we need our fix. Like, there's got to be football. Like, I can't live without football. And I remember thinking, like, you guys can't go 2 weeks without football. And I like football, don't get me wrong. But I'm like, you guys can't go 2 weeks without football? Like, it's almost like, my Sundays are empty. My Monday nights are empty. A lot of baseball fans too. I don't know what I'm going to do every night. Well, okay. I mean, like, there's other things to do. No, you can tell it became our bread and circuses. And that's why, look, I'm telling you, you could have people dropping like flies from traumatic brain injury. They are not going to ban football. It's too big of a business. There's too much money involved, and too many people love the violence. Sean, am I wrong?
I think you're wrong. And I think historically, if you look at sports, Babe Ruth is a really good example because he changed baseball. Part of the reason why we still say Babe Ruth is one of the best hitters of all time, even though people have gotten many more home runs than him, is because he made baseball owners realize fans wanted to see home runs. And that's why during and after the Babe Ruth era, they instituted a pitcher's mound, because that put the ball coming from the pitcher at a trajectory that it made it more likely to be a home run. And they shortened the fields. They brought those fences in so that players didn't have to hit it as far. And I think it's kind of the same aspect. If you look at football games, no one looks back and says, oh, gee, the best football games of all time were the ones that were the most violent. It's always determined by the score. I think that they need to retool the game that makes it less violent, but in a way that drives up the score, because that's what's going to get people excited. That's what's going to get people to stay just as passionate and keep it the multi-billion-dollar business that it is. I just think that the game, it doesn't need to be banned. It just needs to be retooled. And you can do that by making the game so that there's just more scoring. We don't want, just because a game's violent and the final score is 3-0, you walk away and you go, that game sucked.
Yeah, no, Sean, I agree with you. I think you put your finger on it. Well, look, let's say you bring back the leather helmets. I think if you brought back leather helmets, people would say, eesh, don't touch anybody above the neck, right? And it would be maybe even a massive penalty or a suspension or whatever if you do touch somebody above the neck. So that would force players to be much more cautious. Again, like rugby. Rugby's a very physical sport, very demanding sport. But because, they don't have helmets and padding and shoulder pads and whatever, well, people are careful. I mean, they tackle each other. It's a rough game. But they're not, launching themselves like projected missiles. And Mike is now in my ear saying, why are you trying to kill football? Mike is upset because, he likes football as it is and he doesn't want it to be touched. But no, Sean, I think you're onto something. So make the game as exciting as possible. By the way, widen the field. Lengthen the field. Why? Because then it's not so compact where you're having these constant head-to-head collisions. So you widen it, you lengthen it. I don't know, maybe take off one player from each side so it's a little bit more wide open. And so, you don't have as many of these congestions and these, massive hits in the middle of the field. What I'm saying is you can do things if you wanted to end this. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from John on Messenger. And he makes a very interesting point. Jeff, I have a close family member who works with trauma surgeons. Interesting. They all say if you want to stop the head injuries in football, take off the helmets. Well, I think that's what a lot of you are starting to say, frankly. But that's a very interesting point. This is from a friend of mine, Manny Ribeiro. Many of you know him. He's a Marine, former Marine, I guess, but still once a Marine, always a Marine, a veteran, a Marine, and a tough guy. I mean, if you know him, he's really a big man, a strong man, very physical man, a great patriot, by the way. So he's not some wuss or, sissy, far the exact opposite. And this is what he said, Jeff, in his text to me. Anyone who knows me knows that I've been saying it for years. Take the helmets away. Go back to leather helmets. They will stop doing what they do. They can learn to play the game the way it was meant to be played. Interesting. So, and this is what I was trying to tell Mike during the break, and he was getting mad at me because he loves football. He's a borderline football fanatic, which is fine. He's very passionate about football. It's a great American game. I love football too. And I said, Mike, I'm sensing a change slowly in the culture. I said, I think not today, not tomorrow, but maybe 10, 15 years from now, you may see them play with, less equipment or maybe even leather helmets, and just see a less violent physical game than what it is now. And Mike was saying, no way. Mike was basically saying over my dead body. He wants the helmets. He likes the contact. Keep the helmets. Keep the contact. Leave football alone. But I was trying to say, Mike, really, it's not a sissification or a wussification of America. I think these traumatic brain injuries are becoming such a problem and becoming so prevalent that the NFL, again, not today, not tomorrow, but they may have no choice. Down the road, you got parents who are going to start demanding it. More and more parents are not allowing their children to play football because of this, which is going to narrow the pipeline of potential talent down the road. And there could be just too much pressure where they say, okay, maybe let's get rid of the helmets, go back to leather helmets. And, when you do a tackle, you just bring the guy down. You don't take his head off. 617-266-6868. But that's me. Sue in Maine. Thanks for holding, Sue, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Sue?
I'm excellent. I'm way up on a ladder painting a house. So
really?
If I drop the phone, don't be surprised.
Okay, as long as you don't drop, that's all that matters, Sue. Forget the phone. It's you. You matter.
I got to tell you, though, your knowledge of football is really could be fit on the head of a pin. The game, your job is to protect the quarterback, okay? And you have to be bigger, faster, stronger, heavier, and, hit harder than the guy who's against you. And he has to be bigger, faster, stronger than you in order to get through you. So that's how it gets. I mean, every year it gets a little more aggressive and a little more aggressive. But in the same vein, the person in Lewiston, a couple of years ago, we suffered a mass shooting of a man who suffered from severe brain injury due to his time in the armed services. And he shot close to 20 people in two different venues. It was a horrible thing. And it's something that, a lot of people are still trying to recover from. So everything was missed. The Army didn't tell the psychiatrist didn't tell the police here, the family knew he had violent tendencies, and nobody took his guns away, which has now led to, it's now led to the legislature putting red flag gun laws on our ballot for next year. So I just want to tell you, it's not necessarily football that's causing severe brain injuries that causes people to behave in horrible, horrible ways. So that's about all I had to say.
Well, that's an excellent point. Look, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but during the Iraq War, even during the Afghanistan War, I met with a lot of veterans, and many of them told me they suffered from CTE. Yes, PTSD, but they said, no, CTE. I'm like, well, that's a bit strange. They go, no, you don't understand. We dealt with all these roadside bombs. or other bombs that were planted when we would go house to house, say in Iraq or Afghanistan. But the armor, the protective gear now that soldiers are able to wear, our soldiers, you can actually survive a direct IED blast. But what it does is it rattles your brain, right? You get like blown up, like boom, and you get blown back. And they go, no, I mean, I survived. A couple of them told me, I'm like, I can't believe this. They go, no, I survived it. But the blow was so massive that my brain just rattled against my skull. And I ended up having severe brain trauma or brain injury. And they had the same symptoms of what you're discussing. You know, massive memory loss, cognitive impairment, massive crippling headaches. And some of them did lose it. I mean, they just lost it. So you're right. It's not just football. You're completely right. I think it's an issue we have to deal with. Doesn't justify massacring innocent people, obviously. Okay. Honestly, I love these kinds of shows. Not because of what happened yesterday. To me, that's heartbreaking. But a show where the audience is genuinely split. I think it's, for me, the funnest show to do in terms of hearing both sides of an argument. And so you're really starting to see it. So this is from 917. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470. Jeff, it seems the football helmet makes the player feel like he can play rougher and that the helmet will protect him, when it seems it may be doing just the opposite. A false sense of helmet safety makes them play rougher. It would be interesting to hear what an actual NFL player has to say. Very good point, 917. Now, this is from my sister in Tucson, Arizona, Jennifer. Jeff, I'm with Mike. If you want to take off the helmet, play rugby. As with regard to the shooter, they are blaming football, but what about video games? Absent parents, or a violent upbringing? We can't just always blame concussions for a person's violent act. Probably someone told him the NFL was to blame for his problems, and that's why this guy took it out on that skyscraper in Manhattan. Interesting. Let me just say two other super quick points because the lines are jammed. 617-266-6868. Number one, there were some rumors on the internet yesterday, and they were just rumors, that apparently the shooter, this guy Shane Tamura, yelled out "Free Palestine" as he was shooting people up in the lobby. Now, police say that was just a rumor. They don't have any witnesses that corroborate that. In fact, quite the opposite. They don't believe this was a political act of terrorism or a pro-Palestinian act of terror. Plus, he did leave, it seems, a suicide note where he goes on about his concussions, his CTE, his brain trauma, and how it made his life absolutely miserable, unbearable, and that he was angry at the NFL because he was apparently a rising superstar in high school football in California, where everybody said he was going to inevitably make it to the NFL and make multi millions of dollars. As one of his teammates said, quote, for Shane, the sky was the limit, and then it wasn't. In other words, something happened to him after his senior year in high school where he just started to suffer these debilitating headaches. He couldn't concentrate. He couldn't focus. That apparently he began to get all these kinds of dizzy spells, suffered from major memory loss. His life began to just go downhill from there, spiral downwards. He didn't play college football or didn't go far into college football, and then ended up being a security guard in Las Vegas. And he just said life was too unbearable for him. He was on very heavy medication. He suffered from serious mental health issues due to all that massive brain trauma and the repeated concussions, and which begs the question, how the hell did this guy get a conceal and carry permit? I mean, that's a big question that needs to be answered. Now, furthermore, and I just want to say this, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. There is something wrong. And it's not just in America. We are seeing mass shootings, whether it be in Canada, in Australia, across Europe. It doesn't matter. But there is something profoundly sick about Western society in general. And I'm just going to speak now here in the United States because I'm a proud American. Here in America, we have way too many of these shootings. Just way too many of them. And it's not the guns. It's not more gun laws or more gun control, because other countries around the world who have the strictest gun laws have the very same kind of problems. And if, like in Britain, if they don't use guns, it's mass stabbings. People are going around with these huge, butcher knives or steak knives and just senselessly slaughtering people. So it's not that at all. New York City also has some of the strictest gun control laws in the entire country. That didn't stop it. Okay. So apparently, he was JV in high school. So apparently they kind of overrated what kind of a star he was going to be. But anyway, whatever it is, he had promises of making it big, or at least that's what his coaches told him. And the guy kept playing football, and he kept getting concussion after concussion until, his brain was starting to tear apart. And this is what happened. But my point is, we're having way too many of these shootings or mass stabbings in Britain or whatever. There is something going on in our culture and in our society. And there's a lot of factors. I don't think there's a simple solution or a simple answer. But something profound has been happening now for at least 25 years. Look, a lot of people have concussions. A lot of people have brain trauma. They don't shoot up a freaking building. Or in Britain, go around with a steak knife and start chopping people up. So there's something going on. And to me, the image that stays in my mind is this guy, not just with the gun, but as he's seconds away from slaughtering, butchering, massacring innocent people, is cool, wearing sunglasses, calm, nonchalant, relaxed, like he's about to order a burger and a shake. The complete lack of regard for human life, the complete lack of human empathy, the complete lack of a conscience, that to me is what is shocking. And, all you keep hearing from the left over and over is ban the guns, ban the guns. Now it's ban football, ban football, ban football. It doesn't matter. It's always ban some object. But no one's asking what's happening to the human soul. What's happening to our moral fabric? What's happening to our society that's causing one mass killing after another, after another, after another? It's like a relentless wave now. And again, not to beat a dead horse, countries, states in our country that have the strictest gun control laws, it's not stopping it. Is it the drugs? Is it the medications? Are we over-medicated? Is it the lack of parenting? Is it the lack of faith and religion and morality? That we're not instilling basic values like right and wrong, good and evil? Is it the loss of God? Is it the loss of Christianity? Is it, you could go on and on. Is it the breakdown of the family? You can give, there are so many components to this. But there's no question. This number, look, there's always been mass shootings or mass killings throughout history. But the frequency, the intensity, we've never seen anything like it. So there's something going on. And to me, it's the sign of a very sick society. And I'm including Canada, I'm including Australia, I'm including Britain and France and Norway and Germany and countries all across the West. This is not just an American phenomenon. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quickly, Sandy was just talking to me off air, and she made an absolutely excellent point, which is, Jeff, she goes, I've done some digging into his background. Yeah, he was a good football player, but he was on the JV team, number one. Number two, it looks like he never made it to college. And, she's making a very good point. She says, to college football, forgive me. Yeah, I don't know about college, but to college football. It looks like he never made it to college football, even though everybody said he had this promising career and he was very good and seemed to have a lot of talent. She said, Jeff, this guy just may have had psychological problems. Everybody's overlooking this, like just serious mental health, psychological problems that had nothing to do with traumatic brain injury. And that's why he didn't make it to college football, because he was too much of a pain to deal with or had too many issues to deal with. And for this guy, Shane, Tamura, this was easier for him to blame it on CTE or the NFL or, brain trauma than maybe confront the issues that he was facing regarding mental health. And she says, look, people hate football, which is true. People hate the NFL, which is true, especially on the left. And they want to ban football. They want to just get rid of it. So they want to use this guy as a poster child to say, aha, you see, look, basically football kills. Look what it did. It destroyed his brain. And by destroying his brain, it caused a serial killer, a mass killer. So, she's right. She's saying, look, Jeff, we don't know any of this is true. Everyone's saying he probably had CTE. He's claiming that he had CTE. But we don't even know if it's true. So this could just be a very disturbed young man who didn't live up to his potential, had psychological problems, and then decided to blame the whole thing on traumatic brain injury because maybe somebody told him to blame traumatic brain injury. What is clear is that he suffered from mental health. That's no question. He never made it to college football. It embittered him. It angered him. He says he suffered from debilitating headaches and that he wasn't able to concentrate, he wasn't able to focus, that he had memory loss and memory lapses, which is consistent with traumatic brain injury. Ended up working as a security guard at a Las Vegas casino and said that life wasn't worth living anymore, was unbearable, and that he was on very heavy medication. That there's no question. Hell, he even had the medication in his car before he went and shot up the whole lobby. And then decided to do a 2-day trip cross-country to New York City to target the headquarters of the NFL. Well, at least it appears, to target the headquarters of the NFL. To me, blame him. Don't blame football. I'm not saying there can't be changes to football or reforms. I don't like to see brain injury. I don't like to see players getting their brain smashed in. But that, to me, is a separate issue. He's the killer. He's responsible. He was the evildoer. Agree, disagree? Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent out of Western Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. Dave, thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm actually off from work today. I took a vacation day to be with the wife to go up to the pool. So...
That's great, Dave. Listen, today is the day, my friend. It is so hot outside. You picked a great day to go to the pool, my friend.
Jeff, about the shooting in New York, this could have been prevented, okay? I mean, it's terrible what happened. We got to pray for the families that lost family. But, for the liberals to blame football and the NFL, no, this is this guy's fault. I wish he didn't have the brain issues and all that, but, it's like you were alluding to. It's almost a form of PTSD like I have, so.
Well, Dave, if I'm getting too personal, please tell me, but.
No, Jeff, go ahead.
I mean, I know you're a veteran and you served our country, and you're a Marine or a veteran. I was going to say ex-Marine, but Marines are always Marines. So, Dave, I've got to ask you, with your PTSD, are you on medication?
I take care. I take it regularly. I go to the VA here in Pittsburgh, who takes great care of us. I see my doctor at the VA, who was also in the Navy. She diagnosed me with PTSD, and I go to my VFW and I talk to my veteran brothers who have a similar PTSD issues, but may have it less than me, may have it more. It's hard to, determine which was worse, but we're all there for each other. And I got my beautiful wife who understands me, and I got a God that loves me, and good friends like you who love and care about us too. And that's what it's all about, love. And, and then when I have a bout of PTSD, I usually exercise or work out, and I don't let it adversely affect me because I'm also a gun owner. I wouldn't hurt anybody. I control it. I don't let it control me, Jeff.
Well, Dave, you kind of anticipated my next question, because the way the left is presenting it is, if you have a quote unquote, and I'm using this in air quotes, Dave, a mental health issue, let's say PTSD or whatever, that basically, you're a serial killer in the making. You're the next Jack the Ripper. That you can't control yourself, and that this causes you to go out and shoot people and massacre people. You're saying, no, you have PTSD, you have issues, you control it, you have medication, you see a doctor, you take good care of it, you watch it, you monitor it, you have your wife help you monitor it. You work out, you exercise, you do everything you can to deal with anxiety and stress. I take it, Dave, you haven't shot anybody. I take it your friends who have PTSD, your fellow vets, they haven't shot anybody. Am I wrong?
Jeff, and like with everything else, 99.999% the left is wrong on everything, Jeff. They act like they're on their high horse, Jeff, when they're really on their My Little Pony, to use vernacular, Jeff, because they think because they're experts in everything, but they're experts at nothing, Jeff. And that's the left today. They think because they get in, Jeff, and I'm not knocking anybody that goes to college. I know you are a professor, so I'm not. If I'm getting personal with you, just because somebody's got a college degree, don't make them an expert in anything, Jeff.
Dave, I know you're a big Steelers fan. Right? I mean, am I wrong? Because I know you've mentioned that in the past.
Yeah, well, more or less, I'm more of a hockey fan, but I follow the Steelers here, yeah.
What do you think about football? I mean, I know where you stand. You're with me. It's personal responsibility. This guy's to blame for what he did. But do you think that there is a problem with too many concussions? And is this something that we as a country should now finally face and maybe make changes to the game? So, people aren't getting brain trauma and CTE. Is that an issue that you think needs to be dealt with? Or do you say, Jeff, I love my football, like Mike, leave football alone. You don't want to play with a helmet? Go play rugby.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm kind of like that too. I played sports in high school. I was a letterman in a couple of sports, but as far as the violentness, hockey and football are two of the most violent sports. But what they need to do, these football players need to be role models for or even hockey for that sport, Jeff. They need to be role models and not want to kill each other. It's at the end of the day, Jeff. It's a sport. It's a kids' game. Grown-ups play it and they're good at it and they're professionals. And I don't knock what they obviously got God-given talents, but there's no need to want to kill each other on the field. And I'm not saying that they intentionally do that, but if it's violence by its nature, people are going to get the concussions and get hurt and even die. And what happened to this animal, like you said, I want to call him a gentleman. The guy's an animal, what he did. And at the end of the day, he's fully responsible for what he does. So just like me with my PTSD, I have to be responsible for what I do because I don't want to adversely affect anybody or hurt somebody. And that just gives more ammo to the left, so to speak. No pun intended.
Oh, amen. Amen. Dave, thank you again for your service. And really, God bless you. Outstanding call. Thank you so much, Dave. I talk to veterans all the time. They all tell me, so many of them, Jeff, I battle PTSD. I battle depression along with the PTSD. And, and they're not ashamed, and they shouldn't be ashamed. I take medication. Of course you should take medication. PTSD is no joke. Depression is no joke. So I see a doctor regularly. I'm monitored. I'm followed. They give me the right dosage, the right medicine. And, and I'm responsible, and I take care of myself, and my spouse, if I'm lucky enough to be married, or my partner watches over me. And, and I also do, I take care of myself, my health, I take, exercise, healthy eating, and a good perspective on life. It doesn't justify me going around shooting up an office building or killing people. And 99.9999% of people who suffer from these air quotes mental health issues don't kill anybody, don't do anything to anybody. So that's why in the end, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And even then, there's been football players who have had CTE, complained about it. It's been a big problem. Now, sadly, they end up killing themselves. They eat a gun or they commit suicide. Like I remember we mentioned Junior Seau, a former New England Patriots player, earlier in the show. They don't go around killing others. I'm not saying you should kill yourself. What I'm saying is, but they're not going out, massacring people. If they commit violence, it's against themselves. So I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. The only one to blame for what happened is that animal. No one else. Lynn in Pepperell. Thanks for holding, Lynn, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning.
Hi, Lynn.
I'm glad your sister and I forget who else it was, brought up the issues of other things going on, because I think this is a way from them to take make the points, bring it to football. I'm an athletic trainer for a high school. Actually, girls soccer is right up there with football for concussion. We do impact studies before every year, and we monitor closely as an athletic trainer. If I'm even suspecting someone's hit in the head, we pull them off the field. We need to talk about the SSRIs and how every mass shooter has been on an SSRI. This kid had mental health issues, and we need to bring the focus back to that. This isn't about guns. This isn't about football. This is about the left probably bringing it back to let's focus on everything else except how we are drugging our society.
Lynn, I promise I'd give you all the time in the world, just for the audience so they understand exactly where you're coming from. I have made this point many times in the past, and I'm telling you people don't believe me. I say, that soccer has almost as many concussions as football. And they're like, come on, soccer's not a nonviolent game. And I'm like, no. I mean, yes, it's not a violent game, but the way they hit the ball now with so much speed and power and force, like when they whip it in on a cross and then someone tries to head the ball into the net, when it hits the head, it can hit it at such power and force, it rattles the brain and causes a concussion. Lynn, am I right or am I wrong?
Nope, you're absolutely right. And, girls' concussions, I think it's 8 out of 10,000, and girls' soccer. And then football is 10 out of 10,000 students. I mean, I'm not trying to be a naysayer that maybe he did have a concussion, maybe 2, but the trainers at this level pull them out, won't let them continue. I mean, this kid played JV football. I'm seriously doubting he had CTE at this, at that stage of the game. Let's focus on that he had some mental health issues.
Now, Lynn, you mentioned SSRIs, and I agree with you on that as well. For the audience out there, what are SSRIs? And why do you believe that every time there's been a mass shooting, or almost every time there's been a mass shooting, SSRIs have been involved? Can you just elaborate a little bit more for the audience, Lynn?
SSRIs are antidepressant medications that if you go to your doctor nowadays and say, I'm a little down, blah, 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 oh, let's just put you on an SSRI. Or I'll even go a step further. As a woman past the age of 50, when I went into my doctor and said, I can't sleep, I have muscle aches or whatever, I have like hot flashes. Oh, let's put you on an SSRI, but I'm not depressed. They will put, I'm telling you right now, high school students in general, there are way, way too many kids on antidepressants, and one of the side effects is suicide or violence. And it's a big problem. We have a huge percentage of children on these medications across our country.
Lynn, is the reason why the media never touches the issue of SSRIs, as you very powerfully and simply have just laid out now, because of Big Pharma? Because so much advertising money pours into Fox or CNN or MSNBC or, the big networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, or just open up a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal, and half the ads in the paper are nothing but Big Pharma ads. Is it because of the money that Big Pharma pours into the media? They don't want to touch SSRIs? I mean, is that a major reason why nobody wants to talk about it?
It's absolutely a major reason, Jeff. You hit the nail on the head. It's what controls our society right now. Big Pharma is in control. Just look at COVID, what they did with COVID. They are in control, and they will keep they'll point to all other directions except the one where they could lose money out of their pockets.
Interesting. So, Lynn, you're saying don't blame football. You're saying football has nothing to do with this, correct?
I am saying football has, in this case, I do not think football has anything to do with this. I think that football, I come from a football family, so I'm a little biased. I had all my relatives played college football. It adds so much to a person's life, and it's not just a game of violence and hitting. It's a game of tactic. It's knowing what your job is, doing it correctly. Most guys aren't out there trying to kill the other guys. Most of them are friends and friendly to each other. It's knowing your job, being part of a team. Again, I think in this case in particular, and I'm not saying CTE does not exist, but this has been exaggerated and blown up to be a football problem.
Lynn, thank you very much for that call. Really, really good and informative call. Thank you again, Lynn. Tony in the Freedom State, Florida. Huh? What did I tell you? Huh? Best audience in the business. You're not going to hear this from the fake news media, I guarantee you. Tony in Florida. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, my fellow patriot. This is really what a horrible tragedy. Certainly our condolences out to the victims of this horrible shooting in New York City. Really just so heartbreaking, Jeff. But, I really don't. Well, here's the thing. I mean, so this guy here, to go all the way across the country, I mean, he had some mental issues, obviously, but to be able to be that alert to drive all the way across the country like that, I mean, he must have been with it somewhat. But anyway, so now they want to turn and they want to talk about the NFL, the CTE, and everything like that. But I would say, Jeff, as a longtime fan of the game, they've come a long way with with the concussions and everything, and I think they've done a really good job with the concussion protocols. I think all sports are doing that now. The NFL probably has the most history of concussions. I mean, going back to the older days of the NFL and then 70s, 80s, 90s. But then I don't know if you saw this movie or any of your listeners, but 2015, Will Smith played a pathologist, Bennett Omalu, and they discovered the CTE, and it really brought the awareness to it. And now you're seeing less and less of this. But the players that played in that older era, as you said, Junior Seau, you can talk about Dave Duerson, who was a Super Bowl champion with the Chicago Bears, and Mike Webster, probably the greatest center to ever play the game. the center for the Steelers for many years in the 4 Super Bowls. But those players also suffer from that, and then committed suicide and everything. You never really heard of those folks, those players, going out, doing shootings like of this nature. Anyway, I just think the awareness is really good now, Jeff, with the concussions. They've done a really good job. It's been a real eye opener. And that movie in 2015, I would definitely recommend it to anybody. It was amazing.
Well, Tony, it's funny you should mention that, because even Mike, not now, but maybe an hour ago during the break, said to me, Jeff, that Will Smith movie in 2015, which you're talking about, raised such awareness. It was like a cultural watershed. And he said, Jeff, I'm telling you, for the last decade, ever since that movie came out, in fact, as Mike said to me, he goes, football used to be more violent. He goes, Jeff, I'm telling you, early to mid-2000s, it was much more violent. You had many more head injuries, many more concussions, many more players suffering from, repeated brain injury or brain trauma or CTE. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you can text the Kuhner Man 70470. A lot of texts are pouring in. This is from 617. Jeff, I am a veteran. I battle PTSD and depression and have been for years. I still raised a family of 5. And never did I want to shoot up places, nor do I take prescription antidepressants. I have a great wife, family, and some close friends who have gotten me to this point. You can't fix anything if you don't acknowledge that something is wrong. Excellent point. Excellent point. 508, Jeff, your previous caller, Lynn, is 1,000% correct. Just turn the TV on for 5 freaking minutes. Every other commercial is a medication advertisement. You're dead on, 508. Really, it's one big pharma ad after another, after another, after another. That's why they're not going to talk about SSRIs. Now, my sister, Jen, seems to be on the warpath over this issue. I don't know if she's feeling touchy because my nephew, her son, Andrew, by the way, very good high school football player, now has ended his high school career as a football player, and she's feeling a little bit defensive. But this is what she texted me. Jeff, do you see what the left has done? We are talking about how bad football is for boys, with like 3 exclamation marks. They keep us away from the real issue. Why are our young boys depressed, more violent, and not motivated in life? They took religion out of schools. They told them how evil religion is. They told them being masculine is bad. They may actually be a woman, and they should explore that. They said being depressed is normal. Republicans are ruining your life. They said just take medical marijuana, antidepressants. They give them a trophy when none is deserved, making them believe they're all a big star. The left is destroying our boys. That is the real problem. And then she adds, football is excellent for boys. It keeps them physically fit. They have to maintain a good GPA to stay on the team. They bond with other boys and make other friends. And they learn how important teamwork is. The problem is what happens everywhere else when they're not playing football. Home life, spiritual life, in the classroom, and of course their virtual life, i.e. playing video games, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. The left would like nothing more than to take boys out of football and put them in dresses. 617-266-6868. Roman in Boston. Thanks for holding, Roman, and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good, Roman. Very good. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay, Jeff. The more the show wore on and everything, I agree with callers in Texas that this may not probably not CTE. It's probably mental illness. And I'm going to explain what I've been thinking. This guy had the cognitive ability to drive from Nevada to New York and basically wanted to time it for when everybody got out, but didn't. And who did he take out first? The first threat. You need cognitive ability to recognize that there's a police officer over there, and one of my brothers is dead now. And then who do you take out? A female. Third, who do you take out? A potential threat with a security guard, because he didn't know if he was armed or not. This guy knew exactly what he was doing. There was no. He can't blame it on concussions. He can't blame it on anything. A problem that we have in our society today. This kid grew up playing JV football. That's all he could make. Yet he was told that he's a superstar. We have raised a bunch of narcissistic kids whose parents and coaches give them a false sense that they are princes and princesses. And when things don't go their way, things go downhill for that kid. They don't know what it's like to fail, because by failure, we grow and we learn. This guy, CTE, no. I haven't watched, to be honest with you, I haven't watched football since Kaepernick kneeled. I haven't watched any sports since Kaepernick kneeled. I'm done with it. But I don't blame the NFL at all. And your sister made a lot of good points in her text. You know what I mean? Everybody gets a trophy, all this pandering and this with these kids and with society and all that. She made very good points.
Roman, I think you nailed it. No, I think you're right. That look, we raise our kids now. It's very different. They're entitled. As you put it, they're narcissistic. Everybody gets a trophy. Okay, just very, very quickly, does it have anything to really do with what happened in New York yesterday? No. But I don't know why, but it's something that has struck me about our society, and it stays with me to this day. This was about maybe 20 years ago when I was working in the newsroom at the Washington Times. Anyway, long story short, there was an editor at the copy desk, and he clearly had serious mental issues. You can just tell. Apparently, I found out after they hired him, because he began harassing everybody in the newsroom, that in the interview stage before they gave him the job, he went on about how he had spent months alone in the wilderness, all by himself, fantasizing about killing people. And that at times he would fantasize about pushing people off of buildings. A true story. And I remember when I heard this, I'm like, and you still hired the guy? Like, what is wrong with you people? And their answer was, well, that would be discrimination. I'm like, discriminating against the mentally ill. I go, are you serious? The guy's fantasizing about killing people and you idiots still hire him? Anyway, long story short, there was an issue with this guy every day, every night. It was a nightmare for months. He would argue with everybody over every little point. He's getting all stressed. He's gnashing his teeth. He's sweating. He's turning red in the face. Why did you use this word in the story and not that word? And you're looking at him like, dude, like he's so wired. You're like, this guy's going to blow. Like, this guy clearly is not right in the head. Well, apparently it came out that he was secretly videotaping everybody in the newsroom. He would have conversations, say, with me over a story about, and all he did was the copy desk, meaning he just looks over the style of an article. In other words, did you put a comma here, or do you put a colon or a semicolon or whatever it may be? So it's just style. And this guy was so obsessed with proving his point and somehow laying a case. He was convinced that everybody was out to get him. He was paranoid. He was completely paranoid. I'm telling you, the guy was nutty as a fruitcake. That it turned out he was having conversations with us and then secretly taping us, recording us. Now, when I found out that he was doing that, I'm like, this is such an egregious violation of our privacy. And this is so irresponsible and unprofessional and frankly crazy. And middle management refused to do anything about it. And so I remember to one of the top editors, I said, look, everybody, in the reporters, the editors, everybody's talking about this. They go, this guy is going to come in here one day and he's going to go postal. He's going to shoot the place up over some stupid grievance. And they're like, ha, 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 ha. It was like a big joke to them. And so finally, when I found out he was secretly taping everybody, one of the female editors started to cry. She was just like, I can't, he argues with me over nothing. He fights with me over nothing. We keep complaining. We have much more important things to do than deal with this guy who's a nonstop problem. And now we're finding out all of our conversations behind, which by the way is against company policy. It's illegal. Has been secretly recording us, and you still won't do anything about it? I went right into the managing editor. That's the number 2 editor. I went to the managing editor's office, closed the door, and I said, it's either him or me. Frankly, if you want to know the truth, it's him or the entire newsroom. Like, I don't know what it is with this guy, what you're afraid of. Well, he could claim discrimination, that he's mentally not all up there, mentally ill, and that we're discriminating against the mentally ill. I go, look, I'm not going to wait for this guy to come in with a gun and shoot this place up, because that's clearly now the path that we're on. And so finally, after basically there was a newsroom rebellion, there's no other way to put it, they finally fired this SOB, okay? Now, my point is, and it went on for months. I'm giving you the short, very short version of the story. My point is this. What I couldn't believe, and frankly many others, was number one, how this was a joke to some people in management. Like, what is so funny? The guy is clearly not right in the head. He clearly needs serious help. He's telling you he fantasizes about killing people, shooting people, throwing people off of buildings. And like, you guys think what? This is like Saturday Night Live? This is a comedy show? How everything to some people is a joke until it's not a joke. And the lack of regard, I don't know, for other people's life, for other people's sensibilities, for other people's space and privacy and autonomy. It was just the whole thing, the lack of concern for fellow human beings, fellow employees. And to me, this was what really stood out. The sense of moral paralysis. Everybody knew he was crazy. Everybody knew he was a ticking time bomb, that this guy was trouble. There's no question. But nobody wanted to act. Everybody was afraid to act. And I remember I kept shaking my head like, what is wrong? Like, what does this guy have to do before this guy gets fired? And I'm sorry, I just go back to the image yesterday, which is seared in my mind, and it's captured, I think, the national imagination, the national consciousness. You've got this savage, this animal, this sicko, walking out of his car, double parked, with a freaking, I know it was an M4 rifle, but the thing looks almost like a machine gun. It looks like a cannon. And he's just walking across the courtyard, la, 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 with his sunglasses, and he's about to unleash this massacre, and nobody observes? Nobody says anything? Nobody cares? Nobody does anything? Like, is everybody's head in a cell phone? Like, are we just all hooked and looking at a cell phone? Like, as one person texted me, Jeff, where was the situational awareness? Like, I'm sorry, if I go down Boylston Street here in Boston, call me crazy, or I go to Boston Common, or take your pick, and I walk around with an M4 rifle with sunglasses, la-da-da, and I'm about to shoot up a place, la-da-da, la-da-da. Is everybody just going to be, looking on my cell phone? Okay, yeah, lunch, sure, I'm free for lunch. Yeah, sure, dinner, yeah, what do you want to have? Sushi? You want sushi? Let's do sushi. I don't know. I'm telling you, the only phrase that comes to my mind is the lack of we've lost our moorings, like our moral bearings, our social, moral, religious bearings. It's just what should be so obviously wrong and should be so obviously morally outrageous and used to be, open and shut, morally wrong, morally outrageous. Nobody does anything. I'm sorry. It's like a moral, spiritual malaise. And it's like we're paralyzed. And now you're seeing the pictures are coming out now of the victims, not just the police officer, but the actual victims. That poor woman that was killed hiding behind a pillar. I mean, my God, my heart breaks for her and her family. She didn't deserve that. None of them deserve that. They just went to work. That was their crime. They went to work, and they were planning to go home. And this animal killed them over nothing. Literally nothing. Jeff in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, Jeff, as far as this situation's concerned, I have a couple of takes on this situation because I do security work for a living. Number one, as far as firearms are concerned, I believe the government wants to outlaw all firearms to all citizens except for approved individuals. Number two, I believe down the line, with a couple of attacks like this, the government will eliminate my job as a security officer and make it a point to have all security officers armed and federally trained, police academy trained, and so forth. Number three, I believe the government will eventually have a national police force because the bill will come out that you cannot have amateurs do this. You have to have the military and the police.
Jeff, can you do me a favor? I'm up against a hard break. Please hang on. I think you're definitely onto something. 617-266-6868 is the number. I want to read to you two texts. And they're some of the two best texts I've ever gotten in my entire career. I don't know what it is about today's discussion, but it's absolutely been outstanding, really outstanding, from the entire audience. Texters, callers, you name it. People who've emailed me. This is from 617. Jeff, when my first daughter was 3 years old, she was whining and complaining that she wanted a toy. I finally gave in and bought it for her. My mother, who is a member of the greatest generation, said to me, quote, I thought I spoiled you kids, and now the spoiled are doing the spoiling. Looking back, Jeff, she was 1,000% correct. Interesting. I never looked at it that way. It's like almost like we've become overly spoiled as a society. And that's why so many people feel, kids nowadays, people feel entitled, people are narcissistic, people are so self-absorbed, people have no sense of any kind of empathy or compassion for other people and other human beings. Anyway, just interesting. Very interesting. Here's one more. 781. Jeff, what you're describing is the lack of morals. And this is a direct effect of the devil. What's right is wrong. What's wrong is right. What's up is down. There's no compassion for sadness or pain. That is the effective evil on society. Some people ask God, why did you abandon us? God replies, I never left you. You left me. Dave in Vermont. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, bonjour, Jeffrey.
Bonjour. How are you, Dave, my friend?
Very good, my friend. Hey, the way I see it, those of us who have a little bit of age had some education of history. But the younger generation today have had no education of history, and it's been kind of hidden from them. And what they're getting now, we've become children of the media. The media has taken the place of the education system, and we've abandoned it many years ago, back in the late 50s. And we're beginning to see the spillover of that now, because the two most effective things in the shaping of society has been either an education system, the Bible, or the media.
You know, Dave, that is an absolutely brilliant point. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think you're right. It's cumulative. It took time. It doesn't happen overnight. But you're right. The education system, look how they're being indoctrinated, how their brains are being marinated, how they're being brainwashed. And so many of them now are children of the media, social media in particular, but children of the media. And they're at the mercy of these people. And they have no sense of the past, no sense of history, no sense of, as you put it, the Bible and religion and right and wrong. They're just the playthings now of people who manipulate their emotions. And look, I mean, this is the kind of society we're starting to see now. See, I don't think there's one answer or one simple answer to what's happening. I think that's why today's show has been so good. Many of you are pointing different aspects. It's a mix of several things, many things, and it's all coming together. And I think, to be honest, the reason why the left is effective at propaganda is they give very simplistic solutions to complex problems. Dave, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Our children today are basically taught by two entities: the school system, education, which is completely corrupt and Marxist, and the media, which is completely corrupt and Marxist. So there you go. Thank you for that call, Dave. Outstanding call. Ken in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Ken, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Your finishing touch as far as the cultural issue, it definitely impacts this story. But let me get back to, because I'm a high school football official, so this idea of going back to leather helmets is nuts. You don't need to do that. They already have the coverings on the helmets, and that's probably going to be mandatory at the high school level, and we have all sorts of precautions at the college and pro level. Trying to destroy football is anathema, and Lynn was absolutely right. They're doing a terrific job of helping the kids stay safe.
Well, and Ken, just to reinforce or piggyback off of what you're saying, baseball as well, but American football is a great American institution. I know they say baseball is like, motherhood and apple pie, but so is football.